governor's office. So thank you for accommodating me as I stumble probably through this agenda, but we've got a good one. And it's a very appropriate time of year as we're nearing the halfway mark. So I'll be respectful of everyone's time, particularly those that still have some work to finish before, I guess it's Tuesday for the Senate. Let's see, is Senator Donato here? But I'm told we have 11 voting members for meet our quorum. So I think what we'll do is we have a motion to approve the consent agenda or the minutes from last meeting. So moved. All in favor? Aye. All opposed? All right, it's adopted. We can now move to Mark Fairchild is going to walk us through a number of items that are moving through the General Assembly. You're probably all passed by now. I would believe, or are about to pass, but I think all have.
Yeah, I think we have one on third readings, but it's looking just fine. So
if everyone is all right with this, but have any objections, we can go one by one vote. But my expectation is a number of these, I don't believe they're controversial, but Mark can kind of walk us through each of them if we need to pull one out. But I think I'd like to reserve the vote until the end, and we can kind of consent on the language that Mark is going to identify that this commission through Mark can advocate on behalf of. Is that acceptable? Yeah, go ahead.
Chairman, I'm good with that course, but can we just pull out 171?
Yes, absolutely. Let's do that. Oh, 171. Yep.
Yeah.
Pull that out.
yeah, and I'll be going through each of them separately so we can discuss as we go and then look at how we want to do the voting on that.
And we'll have a discussion.
Yep.
Okay.
Great.
Go ahead, Mark.
So I'm going to start out with a couple of things that we were working on that were commission bills. So language that came directly through us or has already been decided to be focused on. So the first two, sadly, I'll say, are not ones that we're able to move this year. I'm looking at our two human trafficking pieces of legislation. These were ones looking at removing the language that the child must consent or confirm or deny being a victim of human trafficking, and would appoint legal counsel to them. These really just ran out of time this year. There were a lot of counsel for children's related bills, so neither was able to get a hearing. These are ones we are definitely already in talks to bring back next year. So just an update that those unfortunately weren't able to move. We do have some human trafficking stuff that is moving, so I'll be getting that in a little bit. So we're still going to be working in that range. Next up, House Bill 1194. This is a much larger bill for the Indiana Criminal Justice Institute, but it has some specific language in it for the Youth Justice Oversight Committee. For those that have been around a while, the Youth Justice Oversight Committee came out of a task force of the commission, has been doing some very large scale work on getting new resources and innovative programs out for youth justice. And last budget session got a set of 3 grants that would be awarded to localities in order to begin some initiatives. So very exciting stuff. As we went through the first round of grant solicitations, though, we did find a barrier that the grant funds were not advanceable. And for some of the small and rural communities, some of the exact ones that we really wanted to make sure would apply for funding, that took it out of reach. So not having $50,000 that they can just get from a county council up front to start an initiative was a barrier. So this bill has language in it that specifically says that those funds will be advanceable. And the advances would only be allowed through the July of next year. So it's basically saying, well, we're going to come back around and be able to look at budget wise in an actual budget cycle. Do we want to keep this practice going? Where are we going from here? So it will be vetted again, but for the next couple of rounds of grants, they'd be advanceable. It also has language in there saying an emergency is declared for this act. For those not used to that language, it simply means upon passage, this goes live instead of waiting until July 1st. So it just allows those grant funds to get moving a little bit quicker so we can get those programs off the ground in support of the Youth Justice Oversight Committee. So pretty straightforward one. That one's moving fine. I will say we offered a letter of support and we're available for testimony on that one in the second half as well. That was, again, previously approved that we'd work on that. So pretty straight ahead, nothing too controversial in that one. Good practice. It's probably something to think about if that's a practice that might need to be expanded in other pockets of funding that we look at in the future for those small communities. So kind of a bit of a pilot there. Okay. So next up, I have a set of bills that we have not acted on that I would like to consider some language within them that we could act on. So again, this would be letters of support, me talking to the legislators, possibly testifying in committee. But I'm going to be, again, reminding everybody that we are looking at language, not bills in their entirety. Too many things get changed, too many things get amended. Bills change numbers altogether. So this allows us to be nimble to the parts that we are in agreement on. Right. So I'm going to cycle through a set of those, all related to issues that we talked about before that we wanted to get involved in. But what does that mean? So Senate Bill 2 is what's become the large child care bill for the session. There's several out there and several are looking at being combined and moved through. But this has been the main driver. Of course, Senate Bill 2, with its numbering, means it's also a priority item. So we're looking at that one being one that we get involved in. It does a few different things. One, it's going to study the issue of child care worker reimbursement, which I think there's a large scale agreement saying, look, they're underpaid, and especially coming out of COVID, where a lot of other job sectors raise their pay scale tremendously. And financially, it's very difficult for childcares to afford to pay their staff at that same level. We've lost a lot of workforce. So at least studying that issue and seeing what can be used to remedy that. It also unlocks CCDF, Child Care Development Fund vouchers, and On My Way Pre-K vouchers for childcare staff meeting certain income requirements. So at least saying, what can we do for now to cushion a little bit and make it a little bit more enticing to be able to stay in that work. So it is definitely a forward-looking bill, but it's acknowledging that we need to address the staff side of what's going on there in the workforce side in pretty responsible ways. There's language in a lot of the childcare bills, and some that are going to probably go in and out of 2 as well, that relate to regulatory requirements and safety standards and stuff. But we're really just looking at the language related to workforce capacity because the rest is really still being worked out.
Be remiss if we didn't recognize the House sponsor, Representative Bond.
Yeah. So.
Yeah, it just got right across the floor.
So absolutely. So this one's going across and Devon is catching it. So we're happy for that. But it is kind of the bill where a lot of the childcare language seems to be coalescing. So I think it's a smart one that if we're going to look at that, we talked about that as a major issue in the coming year. Seems like a smart one to attach to and be available to aid in the discussion. Next on the list, there's again several bills in this space. This is the one that's moving. Senate Bill 17, age verification for minors language. This goes specifically, it's actually in our founding statute, and we talked about cyber issues a little bit at our last meeting as a concern. In our founding statute, specifically online safety is noted. So I referenced that on this one as something that to look for bills that maybe do meet that. This one is very specific. It's by no means a large scale online safety and security bill for youth, but it does talk about creating a basic age verification system for adult oriented websites where youth cannot access them without having full confirmation of age, which is not the drop down box that you just do the math and you say you're 21 now, but actually linking it to a real data set, having a verification app, something's more strict than the current standard. So again, one that seemed to fit that definition that I thought we could look into as well. So fairly straightforward. It has less controversial language than maybe a few of the others did that got things added into. That one's pretty straight ahead. Senate Bill 45. I will pause on this one for a second too. This has some trauma-informed care language and specifically came out of our subcommittee that's working on commercial sexual exploitation of children. The bill started in a different form than where it's at now. That was a little bit more controversial, where it was requiring that nurses as a component of their licensure had to have trauma-informed care training. There were some concerns that would be seen as punitive against the nurses and cost some of our workforce there, which of course we don't want to jeopardize. Current form, which is probably still going to be tweaked more, is more about saying, can we make sure employers that have nurses that are working direct line client contact are helping to provide that training and keeping a record of that training, that those nurses that are patient facing have trauma-informed care training, inclusive of risk factors or signs of potential human trafficking. So that one is moving along strongly. Kreider's up front of it, and Kreider, of course, is always very receptive to a lot of feedback. He's working on it. His wife is actually a nurse, so he's getting a lot of inside track there. Mine is too, so I'm getting plenty of inside. But it's a great discussion going on there about trauma-informed care and how it really helps all patient care when we're looking with especially vulnerable women, children that might cross paths here too. It's a good starting point of frontline folks that want to be able to be a safeguard when they're in that position. So again, moving over strongly and looking at possibly jumping in on that one on the second half. And then I do have 171, and we might want to pause for a little bit more discussion on this one. So there's a larger discussion going on at the State House about what do we do with some of the child in need of services cases. And trying to wrap our hands around how we can do that better, where we can make some fine tuning. I pulled this one out specifically because this one talks about extreme cases where there's a concern that the home that we're assessing reunification for might just be outright unsafe for the child. Current policy says we have to try reunification in most cases. This adds a little bit more to the list. If there's been multiple removals, multiple chins where it was a fault of the guardian, can we have judicial discretion to say, maybe this one is one where we don't start reunification. This is a dangerous home for the child. Maybe we start with a different option. So it's really just looking at, in the extreme cases, do we have a way to keep the child safe when it's at that level? And sorry, the slides are on auto advance, so I have to keep clicking back. Do we have any discussion to offer on that one?
Yeah.
So first, is that working? Okay, thank you. So first, the council really applauded Senator Walker on how circumspectly he drafted this legislation. We did share just one concern that I wanted to highlight just for discussion, and this has been shared with the author already. So this is just transparency on where the council is. At the end of the day, I do believe I can vote to be supportive, but again, for transparency, wanted to share our concern. So if you look under C in the bill as it relates to people who have been required to register as sex offenders, our concern was that there was no nexus between the sex offense that required the person to register and their ability to parent or provide a safe home. So we offered a proposed language that would require the court to make a finding. This person's required to register, and for this reason, we believe that the court finds that the person cannot provide a safe environment for the child. Or we offered another idea of could this language in C just apply to offenses where the victim was a child? And so those were our ideas. I know I want to be clear. The bill as it's written does preserve the court's discretion. The court does not have to, because someone is on the registry, terminate parental rights. Like we understand that. But we just thought that this proposed would just make it a little clearer that the court, should nail down that there is a nexus. So because there's still judicial discretion, I feel like the council can still be supportive, but I just wanted to share that concern.
Yeah.
Yeah, I just want to add, I think we felt that this bill as written is very good for child safety. There are about 15 other states in the country who have similar language already on the books. We feel that this is really important for child safety.
Quick question.
Yeah.
That reminds me, and I did not get time to research this myself. I didn't understand the cross-reference to the federal registry. Are you able to explain that or enlighten?
Yeah, I'll say there are instances where you need that because there have been times where people are on a sex or violent offender registry in another state. And the crime gets pled down to something lesser than the equivalent in Indiana law. And thus we wouldn't, they wouldn't be eligible for no reasonable effort, so you need to reference both,
Got you. Thank you.
or else people will get through the cracks.
Thank you.
Because the question, my ignorance, is there a definition for conditions caused by the parent? Is there?
Yeah,
a list or-
there is, but it's, I believe that comes back to the DCS and or criminal findings stating that.
And just neglect is caused by poverty, so it's not part of that. I feel like, well, I think.
So, and again, yeah, very important that we like in there the judicial discretion component because there's not a lot of clean cut cases, especially when we look at some of these. So again, looking at, and again, I'm making sure that what I'm putting up in the summary of these documents too, this is the language I'd be speaking to. So things that go broader than this or more specific, that's where I know well enough to say I'm not the expert here, but oh, look, Eric Miller's in the room, so he'll handle that one. So we're again talking about that at in more the general level is where we'd be coming in on it. So I definitely appreciate the discussion. That's one of the more complicated ones of the ones I put on this list. So I want to make sure that we know where we're coming from and going to on that. Okay, so I think I just have one left on there. This auto advance is getting super fun. And this is actually a bill that came through, again, Representative Devon. And I believe it's Senator Donato, they'll be taking it over in the second half. So it's within the commission. This is kind of part of that same discussion of what our baseline and extreme line are for child safety. And 1051 is pretty straight ahead. It's saying that as a matter of state policy under the juvenile and family law, there's a list of policies of basically the best practice that we're going to try to do with every instance where the child is involved. This one just says that a family and juvenile situation like that, that when the child is out of the home with a kinship caregiver, another form of guardian, that there's reasonable efforts that there's communication between the birth parent and who's the surrogate caregiver at that time. I'm trying to get away from kind of that us versus them mentality and some of the difficult things that happen where kids kind of get stuck in the middle because we don't have both parties talking to each other. And just setting up, again, a baseline of saying, let's make reasonable efforts to get communication going there. We know it can't always be there, it can't always be perfect, but it's a good starting point. So that's really what 1051 does. Again, went through just fine in the first half. Looks like it's going to be moving just fine in the second half too, we hope. But just, again, a good baseline of what's the minimum that we should be doing in these cases for communication. Okay. And I believe that's the list that I have for today of ones that we would be
So I think
potentially.
We're going to
moving
talk
on.
about one other bill after that. We're not going to take action. So
Correct.
I have a motion to approve sort of the issue you're having to see that Mark's laid out for each of these bills. So move. Second. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed?
Great, thank you. All right. So we do have, so we had one other bill coming up. Okay, now it's just going backwards. Sorry, the slideshow is just awful today. 1050 is the next bill, which will be on the screen shortly. There we go. This is a bill that is not currently has a pathway to move forward, but was brought forward by a couple of commission members as a point of discussion that we wanted to dive into. So I will say the very broad overview of it is it's trying to address an issue where we've got, in Chin's cases, adoption moving in one court, and we've got reunification or other strategies towards reunification happening at the juvenile court level, and it's not communicated well. And this has led to very difficult situations, as you can imagine, with this getting pulled in two different directions at once for the birth parents, for the potential adoptive parents, and of course, for the child that's in the middle and not sure what their future is looking like already. It adds another layer of uncertainty there. So I did want to bring this forward because it seems like there's a place for the commission to say there's definitely not a positive happening here when we have these many players working in different directions and a child in the middle of that. So want to open up the discussion. I know it came through your group, Bernice, if you wanted to start and kind of go into it in more detail.
Thank you. Mark gave a good, outline, a good start, but often in these types of cases where you have a CHINS or a TPR, are you able to hear me okay?
I'm fine.
Okay, all right. So we have situations where we have a court that could be working with a family through a chance or a TPR and has been for some time using county resource, et cetera, with a plan toward, reunification, et cetera. And then without any notice at all, another party could file for adoption in another court and there's no notice. So we have the original Chen's TPR court moving forward, using resources, PD resources, et cetera, working with a family. And there's a whole separate track that is unknown happening in another county. So one, we're just concerned of the lack of notice. We're also concerned about the judge who knows the most about the child, the most about the families is being sort of gone around. So we were concerned about that. And then, finally, as I said, just a duplication of resources. We have some counties that literally their public defender systems failed, for lack of a better word, last summer, a couple of counties. And so any duplication, any taking of resources that ultimately then have to be duplicated in another county, not just PDs, but courts also, is just really something that we want to avoid. And we want to avoid, again, that increased uncertainty that children feel about what's my future. So 1050 was not an attempt to take away anyone's authority. It would not take away anybody's authority to file for an adoption. That can still happen. But when they file, if they're aware that there's a CHENS or a TPR pending, they need to notice that court. And then this language would give the court where the TPR and CHENS is the authority to pull that adoption in so that everything is in one place. So that was our goal. We had a lot of conversations with various stakeholders. And I just think this was more of a matter of running out of time and as opposed to like anybody being like outright upset about it. But the council would really love to engage around this. Our board will want to bring it back next year and just make sure it's drafted in a way that everybody is comfortable for the best outcome for kids.
I guess with the conversations that are going on, is it necessary to have legislation or is it a way that legislation is necessary, or is it a way that you can come up with an agreement without sometimes people will draft legislation which spurns a conversation that brings a solution. And I didn't know if that was one, or do you need legislation?
Well, I wish we could just do it by tacit training and agreement, but this really seems like something that there has to be legislation or at short a court rule or legislation for sure.
Okay, thank you.
Mhm.
And have you talked to the chairman of judiciary about it?
So we have,
Okay,
and I think it just might be a matter of running out of time, and there are some additional challenges we can, talk further about.
I mean, it was his first year.
Yes.
Right, so as a chairman, but at the same time, he had like 50 bills in a short session,
Lots.
which is
A lot,
way too much to make it happen. But if you can get him on board,
yeah.
make it his priority as well, so that you got a better chance of getting across.
That is solid advice. Just to put it out there, a lot of these adoptions get filed in Hamilton County. So you could have a CHENS TPR matter in Ohio, Dearborn, where you have an indigent family who doesn't have transportation, and then there's an adoption filed in Hamilton and nobody knows. So we got a data point. There is an amazingly disproportionate number of adoptions out of Hamilton County. And we've heard from judges, that was one of their highlights, right? Like that's a good end where you can, be a part of an adoption, and there are judges who are experiencing less and less of those because they're sort of going to Hamilton County. So that's kind of one of the challenges too, is that one county has a lot of them.
Well, there's an attorney up there that just deals with that. That seems to be the
Yes.
favorite, right? In the state,
Yes,
that
and we
everybody
have
tends
met
to-
with that firm and had conversations as well.
Right.
Yes.
Yeah, and again, so that would be an item to start looking at for next year and saying that it seems like there's a pathway to at least a better practice there. So this is more of just kind of planting that seed as we're thinking ahead of what can be done in that space. So we'll see what comes around with that next year. Sounds like there'll be another bill filed. and see if there's a way that we can find a path to support in that. Any other issues for consideration on, as we're looking ahead, things that didn't go this year? And we will be going back to those 2 human trafficking bills that'll be on the set again.
Next, we've got the Indiana Birth Parent Advisory Board. Monica Roos, is that right?
Yeah.
Maybe others, but maybe just Monica.
It's just me.
Present. Welcome.
All right. So I'm not tech savvy, so if anything happens with this PowerPoint, I apologize ahead of time. Can you hear me? Because I do talk kind of quietly. Okay. So thank you for having me. I'm really excited to talk about the Birth Parent Advisory Board. It's near and dear to my heart, and I'm excited to tell you all about it. Before I get started, though, I want to introduce my team. So I'm part of the Permanency Initiatives team with Department of Child Services, and we are part of the SAT division. And then Harmony Gist is our deputy director. Haley Inman is our division director. Rachel Hudgens is our program manager. And then I'm lucky enough to have my colleague Mafu Fiana here with me. She's our permanency consultant. And then I'm Monica Roos. I probably should have said that at the beginning, but I am our birth parent advocate.
Excuse me, could you pull the microphone down?
Yes, I don't normally talk to people, so I'm
Well,
sorry.
you gotta do it today.
I know.
And you gotta use the mic.
These mics are like this close.
Okay. People want to hear me. I don't, that's weird to me. All right, so let's go ahead and get started. So the idea for our Birth Parent Advisory Board started in 2019 under our then director, Terry Stigdon. Director Stigdon was previously in healthcare, and they had a parent advisory board that would give feedback about what was working and what wasn't working. And so then they realized, getting this feedback from the people that are actually taking part of their care was probably best practice, to change things, improve things for the better. So she brought that board to DCS, and we, I'm glad I printed this out. It's hard to read. So we started the planning committee in February of 2020, which was obviously a really great time to start anything. But we had a few of our parents on the board, and then we rolled it out in April of 2021. So our overall purpose of this board is to really just give our birth parents a platform to share their lived experience, their thoughts, their opinions, give us feedback about, what we can improve on, what we can make better for the parents that we're currently serving. So we really rely on their expertise, and they've been a part of many work groups, RIEs. We have a policy group that they're part of, and it's really great to have their perspective to make those changes within our agency. And then again, the role of the Birth Parent Advisory Board, increase understanding and awareness of needs of families. Our parents educate and advocate for programs and services, and they serve as mentors and trainers on leadership, skill development, and other opportunities for parents involved in the system. And really, it's just a big community for the parents on our board. It's really special to see. So some of our challenges that we've had with our board. So parents' past trauma involvement in the child welfare system. So one of the things that I learned early on was to not come out and say, "Hi, I'm with Department of Child Services. Would you like to join our board?" So that can cause some trauma to come up, some tears to be shed. So you really have to find a way to talk about it without bringing that up right away. And we're learning. Resistance of some individuals within the agency and other external stakeholders. I mean, it's just a different way of doing things. Having parents on our board that had previously been in the system, we're working with them to better our agency. So it's just a different way of doing things. But I'm happy to say we really haven't had a lot of reluctance, or resistance. So that's been a really good thing. So the most convenient time to convene is often outside of normal business hours. So we have our monthly meeting, and that starts at 6 p.m. A lot of our meetings start at least at 5 p.m. I've had conversations with our parents, on weekends, 9 p.m. It's really just about when they're available to meet. They have full-time jobs, they have families, and we just need to meet them where they are. And so if that's going to be at 9 p.m. on a Sunday, then it's going to be 9 p.m. on a Sunday. So That's what we're gonna do. And then failure of some stakeholders to recognize that board members are not employees and special considerations are needed when asking to participate in projects. So really it's just advocating for them, you know, we can't expect them to show up next week at a meeting at 10 a.m. You know, if they've got full-time jobs, they can't just take off. So we really need to advocate and meet them where they are and get them to the meeting somehow, even if they can't be there in person, maybe it's virtual. So we just have to work around those things. So benefits of our lived experience. So really, there are many benefits. Improvement of child welfare practices and services, policy reform, provides valuable insights into child maltreatment prevention and strategies for successful outcomes. And then they really empower parents and make it so parents involved in our system feel less shame and isolation and instead feel more supported and hopeful. And that last one is really a big one because I've seen that in person. I've been in community events with our parents, and you know, if you start out saying, "Hey, let's talk about our birth parent advisory board. We want you to come partner with DCS," you know, they kind of get that sour look on their face. But if I have a parent with me who's like, "Yeah, I was in the system and now I'm partnering with them," isn't that wild? So yeah, we're actually trying to make changes and make things better and positive. So come join us. So that last one it's really special to see, actually. All right. So our parents couldn't be here, but they have sent some videos. So I'm going to let them talk about some experiences that they've had and some programs that they've been involved in.
Hi, my name is Jared Hummer, and I'm a birth parent with the Indiana Birth Parent Advisory Board, and I'm also a member of the Shared Parent Advisory Board, sharing that membership with foster parents. And I appreciate the opportunity to speak a little bit today about what I'm passionate about and what I would like to see happen, and what I feel a parent's voice can add to these systems and the value that a parent's voice has. So I was in the child welfare system in 2017 and 18 for 10 months. Our two boys were removed from our home due to drug use. They were placed with foster care, and then later on in relative placement with my in-laws. And it took us 10 months to get those kids back. During that time, the first several months, we were not clean and sober, and all we were required to do was go to drug classes. We did not have a good relationship with our case manager, and unfortunately, DCS did not help me get the help that I really needed. There were so many more issues that I had, but since I didn't feel comfortable sharing these with my case manager, she didn't know what I needed and was not able to provide the resources that I needed. So it took me a while to get better, but once I found a group, the RU Recovery Program here in my county, and I started going there, and I got a lot of support from people, and because of that group, because of my church and those supports, I was able to get the helps that I needed. And I also was able to start advocating for myself. I had a lot of issues with my case manager, and actually all the way up to my regional manager in my county, and then of course my region. So I just had a lot of issues that I could not get resolved, and nobody would listen to me. There was a lot of things they were doing that policy was against. Some statutes, state statutes, were not being followed. Court orders were not being followed, and I didn't feel comfortable. I didn't feel worthy of advocating or challenging those things when I was using. But I started to see, as I got clean and sober, that the judge in our county would hold DCS accountable, and it started to give me encouragement, and it started to help me find my voice and advocate for myself. And I was able to, when there was a state law or a policy or a court order that was not being obeyed, I was able to was not able to get it resolved through DCS, but everything I had to take through court, and the judge took care of those things. So I really have a passion to advocate for those that feel that they don't have a voice. And one of the things I'm very passionate about as well is sharing this story with DCS and other partners in the community, because it's very important that there's a relationship built between your case manager and the parents. You know, I wasn't going to share what my needs were with my case manager because I felt she was going to use those against me. But if those relationships are strong, and if DCS can build those relationships with the parents, those parents, and DCS shares the resources. That was another thing I didn't realize, like the amount of resources that DCS had at their disposal that they could have helped me to take advantage of. And so, you know, I really want to advocate for strong relationships between family case managers and parents, so that there's communication there, and the parents are able to let the DCS workers know exactly what they need and the troubles that they're having, so that DCS can also share with them the resources that are available that will help strengthen these parents, so that they won't just get their kids back, but the family will become healthy and they won't come back into the system. And so I believe that a parent's voice adds value, not just in the child welfare system, but as a member of the Birth Parent Advisory Board, I've spoken to many different systems. You know, if you're in the child welfare system, a lot of times you're in the criminal system, you are in the actual welfare system, you know, with food stamps and welfare and things like that. And I think it's important to have a parent's perspective about what they have went through, what helped them, and what were some stumbling blocks that prevented them from overcoming these systems. And so I just appreciate being able to share my voice and my perspective. Another thing I really enjoy doing is I sit on the policy board with members of DCS, so I help to review policy. Every 2 years they have to update their policy, and I'm able to give a parent's perspective on those policies. And so many times, just through conversations and sharing experiences, you know, we're able to, I've been able to have DCS look at a policy from a parent's point of view, and that is that's exciting to me, to be able to give that perspective that they don't always see, that they don't always realize. So the policy is one of the favorite things I've done. And we also have started a peer navigator program to have somebody that was in the DCS system help parents navigate through the system, and also to resources in the community that they took advantage of. So that's just starting. That's exciting. I can't wait to see where that goes. But I think it'll also give hope to people that are in the system, to let them know that they can get out of the system. So thank you so much for having us.
Hi, I'm Mandy, and I'm with the Birth Parent Advisory Board for the state of Indiana, and I wanted to share some things that we've been doing with you guys. So over the past year, we had lots of different events that we've been working on, lots of initiatives that we've helped get started, and lots of things that were concerning for us as a group of people. So let's get started with 2023, and maybe soon we can come and update you about 2024. So in 2023, we recognized as a board that we needed to really step up our game with what reunification meant and how we were presenting that to the communities that we work in. And so for as a group, we decided that reunification was going to be more than a month, and we sort of piggybacked off of other events that were happening all over Indiana. So we went to the Summer of Recovery tour and presented birth parent advisory board material to parents in need. And we were meeting them in their recovery space because a lot of parents do fall into the category of having a DCS case while they're in active addiction. Most of us on the board have similar experiences with that as well. So we were able to meet parents who were in sobriety, parents that were not in sobriety, and ones that had, you know, a working knowledge of DCS. And so this was really important to us over the course of 2023 because it opened a lot of doors. And so what we wanted to do was use like what we kind of learned at these events and take it to other things. And we ended up being able to go to several events and talk about the things that we learned. We know that it added value of us being there because it showed like number one, hope of recovery, hope of reunification, restoration of families, and like what you can be even if you were a person in the system. And that was basically our whole summer. Like we spent traveling all over Indiana, making sure people knew what we were doing as far as that. And then in May of last year, I was able to go to Washington, D.C. and speak in front of some of the government officials in charge of like child welfare services, you know, in the United States. And it was a really great opportunity to present on what hope looked like for the state of Indiana. We were able to present that, you know, Indiana has had like a lowered amount of foster cases, a lowered amount of people in the system. And Connecticut was also on that list. And we all got to talk about why that was and like what we were doing that was so positive and amazing. Parents that like had made that possible, people who were speaking about their experiences in DCS, ways we could keep families together as opposed to putting them in foster care. And I personally got to speak about my own experience with being in the system and how even though like that was a real thing, I didn't let that kind of control where we were at today. And get to use our testimony for that and show some people who might not know about, you know, like what the system looked like, that there was hope and that not everybody that's in the system is just going to keep having a recidivism issue, and that if we treat people like peers and if you treat families that are in the system like me, you know, if you say, hey, we want to work with you in 4 years when you're better, when you're clean and sober and you've gotten your life kind of back on track. If we told all parents that, like, there'd be more hope for what they're going through now, for it to mean something and to have a purpose. And that's really what the board is about. It's just using the terrible experience for a purpose and a reason. And we love it. It's super important to get the word out to administrative people and CEOs and these sort of corporate entities of child protective services that don't understand like the family aspect of what's going on. And my husband is probably going to talk about, he sits on the policy board, and that's so important because when I talk about what he does, and I don't even remember, but he talks so specifically about policies and like what it's supposed to say and how it's supposed to affect families that I just get enthralled, and I tell other people, like, you could be this person. I don't know if this is like your thing, but it's so important to have a lived experience person doing a policy that's affecting families all over, because otherwise they don't understand how the language is affecting people. And so we're adding value in almost every aspect of meeting with these entities. And it's just so important to have a lived experience voice there. While we're not professionals, we are lived professionals. We have lived these things and we have seen the causes and the outcomes. And there are a couple things I do want to talk about real quick. So I know that the Thriving Families initiative is really important right now. I know that we went through a period of time where the Safer Families through Casey was happening, and also the Family First initiative through DCS. And I really, I've had a passion for that since I started the board. It was one of the first actually opportunities I got to hear anybody else from DCS present, and having Families First sort of as like my working knowledge of what the system was supposed to be, hearing someone from DCS present that in a way that made sense was so good. And I think that we should really focus on strengthening families in order to like make sure that the problem doesn't happen anymore. And the only way to do that is to make sure that the families are available for learning experiences, trainings, counseling, even basic parenting classes. A lot of people don't know how to budget their money. Again, substance use disorder, if you go that route, just addictive personalities in general, terrible childhoods. I know so many parents are just big kids like that we're not parented, and then we're given children and we're not taught like exactly what to do, and when we try to do it ourselves it's no good. And we can teach people better, and we can love them while they learn it. And I think that that's super important, and that's how we strengthen families and keep them from coming back in the system. And I think if we work together, the professional working knowledge and the love and compassion and just keeping the balance on that these are people and these are people's kids and they just need some help. I think if we remember that, I think we'll go far and we'll make a huge impact. So that's what we're doing as a board, and we love it. We've created a support group for people who are still going through the system. We have meetings where we invite people to come and see what we're doing. And that's about it. Well, I mean, so many things, but those are the most important things to me. So thanks for listening. And if you have any questions, you can always feel free to ask Monica how to get a hold of us as a board, or how to, have us come speak at events, or, if you want our expertise involved. Thanks a lot.
All right. So just a funny story. So Mandy and Jared, they're married and they are involved in their community, as are most of our parents. They're very big into their community. But whenever they go out and they talk to somebody that has an issue with DCS, they always give them my name and my number. So I get a lot of fun calls. But I guess that's what I'm here for. But so the future of our board, the number one thing is recruitment. We eventually would like to have a parent from all 18 regions, because what's happening in Lake County is probably not happening the same way in, Evansville or someplace in the South. So we really want to have that representation. So as Mandy had mentioned, we did tour the whole state this past summer, trying to recruit new members. And we'll probably do it again this summer, but it's important that we do have that representation on our board that kind of represents the cases that we do see within our agency. And then Jared touched on the parent navigation program. That's the parent ally program. We just rolled that out in 2 of our regions. So that's actually going to have 2 of our parents that are on our board kind of work as a liaison to parents that are currently in our system. So they'll just be a support for them. If they have questions, they can go to their parent ally. It's just kind of that additional support that they may need. And then I didn't put it on here, but Mandy and Jared do also have a parent support program. So they meet the 2nd and 4th Thursday of every month, and it's for parents that are currently in the system that might not have any supports. So they can log on to this meeting. It's about an hour long, and if they have any issues that they're going through, they can talk it out with people that have been there and have been through it and get some advice. It's not like legal advice or anything, and nobody from our agency is on there. But it's just kind of a safe community for them to talk about what's going on in their life if they need that extra support. And then we do have a birth parent advisory board. Actually, if you just Google Indiana Birth Parent Advisory Board, it's the very first link. But it tells you about our board and what we do, what we stand for. It has our meeting dates. And then if anybody knows somebody that would like to be part of our board, we have an application that they can fill out to become a member. And then we also have an active Facebook page. It is run by our parent, by Mandy. So she will post member stories, where we're at in the community, just a lot of uplifting, positive things to help people stay positive, I guess. But it's a really nice group to be a part of. It's a really good place to get resources if you want to know what we're up to as well. And that is all I have.
Any questions for Monica?
This is,
I just had a quick question. Is there any like stipulations for the members, specifically if their cases ended in TPR or reunification?
No, we welcome everybody to the board. We just ask that their case has been closed for at least a year so they're able to heal from the trauma that we put them through. But we welcome anybody if TPR, adoption, reunification, we want all of that experience on the board because everybody has a different story.
thank you. Quick question, and I know I should know this, but I can't remember off the top of my head. Can you tell me about the meetings? Are they virtual only?
Yeah, so we have monthly meetings. It's the fourth Tuesday of the month at 6 p.m. and they are virtual via Teams. And anybody can join them and be a part of them and see what we're working on. And if you would like the link, I can go ahead and forward it to you.
Yeah, that'd be great. But I'm curious about the board members. So they just volunteer their time.
Yes.
Zach, cover your ears. I wonder if there could be an opportunity. I understand they don't travel, but anybody with kids who takes their time to come apart and sit and listen and engage. I wonder if like a per diem or something.
Well, we do have honorarium that we give
good.
them. Yeah. So it's not all, it's just how they can fit it into their schedule.
Sure. Yeah.
So yeah, they do get paid a little bit. But again, it's on their schedule because they are very busy and, you know, they've got full-time jobs, they've got families, all this other stuff that's happening. But, and they do travel too. So if we have an event, we actually just had a VSA in Region 4 in the Fort Wayne area a couple weeks ago, and 2 of our parents were able to travel up there and be part of that for that 3 days.
Okay.
So
they were able to get help with mileage and things.
Yeah.
Thank you. And then one last, and this is more of a.
again.
Oh, you can start listening. I'm sorry, Zach. Yes. And this is just to invite like and I you're probably talking with folks on the council staff, so I'm probably the one who's in the dark here. But I was a little concerned listening to the father who felt like he was alone. I'm assuming that he had counsel, indigent counsel appointed to him, and he should have had an advocate with him to help him lift up his concerns and his voice. You know, and that wasn't mentioned at all. So I don't know if he wasn't represented, I'd be surprised, or if he had a negative experience with his PD and felt like the PD wasn't helping him. So I know this is not about PDs. I'm just saying if these meetings produce something that could help us be better at how we serve people, we'd love to hear it.
Yeah, so they had kind of a negative experience when they were in the system, and that's why they're on the board, because they don't want what happened to them to happen to anybody else. And so if they can prevent that, if they can get somebody to have a better experience, if you will, then that's what they want to do. The board is filled with 7 parents, and they all have a terrible story of what's happened to them. But they have processed it, and they come to the meetings and they're very optimistic, and they want to move forward, and they want to help others. They don't want to focus on the past. Like, yeah, that happened to me and that was awful, but I can't really stay focused on that. I want to move forward. I want to help other parents. I want to teach them what I didn't know. And Jared is very, he knows policy. He knows policy better than I know policy. So he can just rattle it off. And so he is really big in his community. And so he will go and speak to people if they're having a hard time. He'll like, well, you can get help with this. So he's learned from being where he was. He knows how to help others get out from their situation like he did.
Thank you, first of all, this is great. So we have an entire network of peer recovery coaches, recovery organizations and everything, and so that might be a source of recruitment, because I know there's, as you mentioned, a pretty common nexus, so if you want to talk offline.
Yeah, actually, a lot of our parents are peer recovery coaches. So
Just as an update, how are you doing on recruitment as far as you trying to meet that geographic distribution or experiential?
well, we have a lot of people in Central, but we don't really have anybody from up north or down south. So that's what we're working on. But we'll get there. It just takes some time.
Sorry, I know it's kind of a more preventative. You guys seem to be coming in at the back end of it on recovery. Is that what I'm hearing? But I know with Tony Dungy's All Pro Dads program, and I know last year we created some funding resources out there. I don't know if that's something that we can tap into as well, but just something else to partner with.
Yeah, we would love all of the help that we can get.
Well, let me just say thank you, because this is one of the sort of uncharted territories of the commission, I think, at the moment, which is, and if you haven't given this presentation before, you fooled a lot of us. A lot more people should hear, both from you and from the parents. So thank you. I think we're want to sort of open the discussion following this for other ways that we can hear directly from parents and also have some interaction, whether that's on a permanent basis or just a semi-permanent basis, so we can kind of build our agenda. I found that really valuable. I think something that we're missing, candidly. We think of, at least I do, naively so, that it's only the child that's in the system, and it's very clear that it's not, and everybody is at very different stages. And I thought that just a hats off to DCS for keeping this up. This very much makes your agency vulnerable to, but it's all about continuous improvement. So the fact that you're keeping that up and dedicating what seem to be significant resources is really commendable. So thank you very much.
Thank you.
Yeah, and I know too, they were also a great part of our Family and Youth Engagement Summit. Some wonderful speakers there, so we appreciate getting there. So again, bringing them here, and maybe we'll look at some other entities coming in. There's a lot of different groups across the state that have that lived experience voice. And again, the parent side is one that's been missing a little bit from the commission's activity. So we're exploring different ways of getting them more involved, even looking at maybe some kind of convening of all the different groups that are working in this space, so we can get those voices together and learn from them. So just something to tuck away and to know that we are actively looking at working that. So if you know of other groups or entities that would be good ones for us to interface with and learn from, we want to start doing that. And definitely, we're not going to forget your group at all either. Wonderful.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
Next, we've got our own Mark Gershau again, Executive Director updates.
All right, well, we're moving at a pretty good pace. That's always a nice thing. So I just want to follow up on a few things. We've had a pretty busy time. Of course, we already talked about legislative session. So good items there. One issue that did come up during legislative session, though, but that there wasn't moving legislation on, and there was a lot of commission interest in, is looking at suicide and bullying prevention. So I was asked to explore that a little bit deeper, look at if we need to form maybe a task force or a set of subcommittees in that space. So I've been talking to leadership across the state that are in those pockets. DMHA, of course, has a great team working in some of that. Department of Education as well. Department of Health is involved there. And what we're looking at is, looks like we'll have a large presentation at our next meeting, really wrapping our heads around what is available, what the resources are, what programming is going on. Because I think that's the best starting point to then say, now, where's a gap where the commission can come in and be of assistance? I can say early discussions are definitely like that. We've got a lot of good stuff we're doing, but public knowledge isn't where we'd love for it to be, and legislative and policy support could be better. So I think that's something that we'll explore a little bit more deeply, but we'll have representatives both on looking at the bullying prevention and suicide prevention programming that we have. And I've asked them to identify gaps that we can assist with as well. So that'll be at the April meeting. And then hopefully it leads to some actions pretty closely after that. So just want to let you know that we have followed up and been active in that space. We also in January 11th, Representative Devon brought together a convening of both of the House and Senate Child and Family Services committees. We were able to speak to them and present a little bit about what the commission is, what our involvement can be, how we can assist in their spaces. So one, just a thank you for making that happen. I think that's something we should really do every year because there's always new faces. And it did lead to discussions with multiple legislators about everything from, here's a bill of ours that I don't know if the commission's aware of, to, hey, can you look at this idea that I have and see what would be language that would make sense from the commission standpoint, and everything in between. So getting that presence where they know we're available, that we're a resource, that we're happy to find the best path forward to help children and families, I think really resonated. So it's very happy to be able to do that and get feedback from those committees there. Very positive day. Speaking of another positive day coming up that I'm really looking forward to, Day of the Child, which is something that is usually generated through a proclamation from the governor's office that the commission supports each year. This year, we're expanding a little bit. So we will have a governor's proclamation on February 19th as Day of the Child. 10:30 in the House chamber, we'll have an address where I'll do some remarks. We'll have some of our other commission members speak. Director Miller is going to read through the proclamation, and then the Indiana Youth Institute will give their State of the Child address that talks about a lot of the stats and other things impacting the state and all of our kids. Simultaneously, we're working with the Marion County Commission on Youth, also known as McCoy, who's going to be doing a Youth State House Day. We're helping to support that. They have over 250 youth signed up to attend. So it'll be a busy day at the State House. Why did we get them all there? Because President's Day is a day off at school, but not a day off for the legislators. So we got that very intentionally so they could be part of that active process. They'll be touring the State House, meeting with legislators, viewing committees. So please watch for that day. If you see some young people around the State House, congratulate them for being there and give them a word or two of encouragement, because we really love the idea of wedding, not just looking at the stats and the impacts on kids and maybe some of the negative things going on, but having the youth actively there at the same day, learning about how they can engage in the process. So again, this is not something we're doing alone. Indiana Youth Institute and Marion County Commission on Youth are excellent partners in this, but being able to support it and take two initiatives and put them together into a really strong day that I think showcases what our state's about when it comes to recognizing the needs of our children. Very excited for that day. So come by if you're able to on President's Day for that event. All right. Lastly, we have in front of you in the tables the annual report from the commission. This is for state fiscal year. So note this is going halfway through 2023. Mostly updates on it'll be an interesting one because kind of half Julie's activities and half my activities in there. We even started with a picture of us both in there, kind of recognizing the transition. But just updated information. This is also something that we know a lot of folks like to have just for contact information about who's on the commission. It is online as well. So I have a small amount of printed copies today. I know most people access it online, but some people like to have that tucked away on their desks. So just a reminder of some of the things we've done over the past year, recognizing our task force and committee members, because often too, I'll hear, hey, you need to have this person there. And I can point and say, actually, they're on the task force right now, putting together the suicide and bullying prevention groups. Actually, we found a lot of that. So we had all the right players. We just need to organize and get focused on the activities that they can be doing. So take it as a resource. We have some other paper copies in the room that commission members or our audience can take with them as well. And we'll be handing those out at our events over the next year. So I think that's everything on my list.
Great. Thanks, Mark. Any other comments? Not, we'll see everybody, I think, on April 17th. Thank you.